Okay, quarterfinal time. We've got a preview for the men's and the ladies, and we are excited. We're back in Canada, back in the studio after 3 or 4 days in New York, and we've got a lot to talk about. A lot of storylines here. We've got Sinner going out to Zverev. We've got Ons Jabeur going out. We've got Iga Swiatek going out, and we've got big storylines. We've got big box off Ben Shelton hitting 149-mile-an-hour serves. We've got Djokovic, and Alcaraz just cruising through their draws. We've got inequality, I think, in the top half and bottom half of the draw. We're going to look at that. And then, we're going to predict and preview the matches in these quarterfinals, which are going to be great, including this one today. Djokovic versus the top-ranked American in the humidity. It's going to be crazy. So let's get into it. Here's the slice on the U.S. Open quarterfinals. Here we go. All right. We are back. My wife did not want me wearing this jersey, my New York Knicks Derrick Rose jersey in New York. So I'm wearing it here on the show. So you guys get to stare at my pasty arms and, unimpressive frame. But that's not similar to who we're going to be talking about on this show in Ben Shelton, who is absolutely jacked and a stud. And like I said, hitting 149-mile-an-hour serve. So I was just in New York. It was awesome. Actually, the night before Shelton took out Tommy Paul in the fourth round, I saw Ben Shelton outside of a restaurant. My wife and I were going out to dinner. I'm like, oh, that's Ben Shelton. I'm like, sup, Ben? Good luck tomorrow. And then I'm like, you eating at this restaurant? And he's like, yeah. He's like, is it good? He's like, yeah, it's this chain, blah, blah, blah. So he's just out there, normal guy, texting someone, eating at a restaurant, and then comes up the next day and he's bombing 149-mile-an-hour serves and playing like a freak. Like, it was crazy. So that was cool. New York is an insane place. Let's just start off with that. Like, what a city. It is the city, really. And it is as crazy as I thought it would be and crazier. We were at the U.S. Open only for a couple hours. No credential means they don't get the full slice treatment. But that was crazy. I did get to stop in at the TSN, which is a Canadian, as you know, big sports network, and do a hit with Mark Rowe, the host of TSN Tennis, who's been holding it down for years. That was a very gratifying moment. We talked about, the big stories. We talked about Shelton. We talked about young guys like Felix and their injury and confidence struggles. We talked about Swiatek potentially losing to Ostapenko, which happened. So that was a great time. So thanks for being here. If you have not yet, leave your email below to enter into the Go Sport draw giveaway. So Go Sport is the best tennis bag in tennis. You know that because you've been watching the slice. What you need to do to potentially win a free 12-pack Axiom tennis bag is to go to the link below, go to their website, and leave your email for their newsletter, join their newsletter, and then subscribe to the slice and to Go Sport here on YouTube. We will ask for proof when we pick the winner. So you better do both. And that's all you need to do to be in. No more of these giveaways that have like 10 steps. Just literally maybe 2 really. Shout out to Go Sport being our sponsor and AG1, the official nutritional drink of the slice. Click the link below to get started. If you have been thinking about that, it's great. We're going to be using that. My wife's already had it after being in New York and maybe not eating the healthiest for 3 or 4 days there. A lot of bagels, a few beers, a lot of pizza. Great times were had. So what are the stories? Sinner out. Sasha Zverev takes out Jannik Sinner. And really, that is not a big surprise. I feel like I got ahead of myself, and I feel like a lot of the other people in the tennis world did, previewing that Alcaraz Sinner quarterfinal on the top quarter of the draw, which would have been great, but we forgot that Alex Zverev really is a top 5 player, and he's getting back there seemingly closer and closer with every tournament he plays. So hilariously, Dave Portnoy, the founder of Barstool Sports, was at the Sinner Zverev match last night, and he he came into that match with a perspective of not knowing anything about tennis and not watching anyone. He bet on Sinner to win, and he's like roasting Sinner for being skinny, etc. Obviously, he knows nothing about tennis, and his opinion doesn't matter. But he did so. He said this other guy Zverev's going to beat Sinner, 99 out of 100 times, which is not true, obviously, because Sinner's the higher ranked player, the more informed player. But just from the eye test, you can see that Zverev has just as much quality to his game as Sinner does, and it really is not a huge upset. So Zverev's through. Bit crazy. Some guy in the crowd said like a Hitler reference thing and got kicked. Zverev got him kicked out. That was insane. So yeah, that's Sinner's out. Jabeur is out. Loses to Queen Wen Zhang. And Swiatek is out. Loses to Ostapenko, who we said, that makes sense. I previewed the match on TSN. I said, Swiatek has only lost to players who have a big baseline game and who are strong. And Ostapenko is that. Ostapenko also doesn't give two rips about overly respecting her opponent as far as, wilting to their power. So that's a match that actually makes sense. So now, in my opinion, we'll show the draws here in a bit, but the draw or the tournament is wide open, in my opinion, on the women's side for Sabalenka. I mean, she beat Kasatkina yesterday so badly, beat her like a drum. She was hitting the ball, I would say, honestly, twice as hard as her opponent, which is crazy. They're both professional tennis players, and Kasatkina does not have a great serve, so that's one of the problems. But she's hitting these slice second serves, not kick, slice second serves, and Sabalenka is just teeing up on them in the backhand, just absolutely mashing them. Really wasn't a close match. And she's the new number one player in the world. It makes sense. On hardcourt, I do think she's the best player in the world for sure. And she looks to me to be the clear favorite to win this tournament on the women's side of things. Also, shout out, while we were in New York, I got to mention this, to the Arlo Hotel. If you are going to go stay in New York, I would check out the Arlo hotels. There's one in Midtown. There's one in Soho. We stayed at the Nomad, which was very funky, very cool. They had a really cool rooftop bar. Anyways, they gave us a big discount on the room, so that helped us out. And it was a pretty easy trek on the subway to get to the tennis, to be honest. So check out the Arlo Nomad. Djokovic, Alcaraz. Besides there's like this weird cable industry thing going on. So I'm in my hotel in New York and I can't watch the US Open. Like I literally didn't watch a single match while I was in New York, other than when I was at the venue. But I have not really watched any of Djokovic and Alcaraz yet. I mean, their matchups have been so lopsided that I've just watched other matches. Hasn't really, to me, seen much point in watching those. I've seen bits of them, obviously. I've seen the highlights. Been keeping up with it. I saw that Djokovic was obviously down 2-0 against Jere. That was a I don't know if it was a scare. My friend Gil Gross puts it well. He's like, he was never close to losing that match. He was just down 2-0, and that's a great way to put it. But yeah, I haven't watched too much of them because I know that they would be fine. And it's about to get tougher, though, for sure, obviously. Quarterfinals. So let's look at the matchups. I think that's all the stories. Actually, no, we'll show it here when we get into this, but let's show you this. The imbalance of the draw, because it's a big story here in the men's quarterfinals, in my opinion. So as you can see here, we've got the quarterfinals. Now, if you rank the players with the most likely chances of winning the whole tournament, I would say it's Djokovic, Alcaraz, Medvedev, Zverev, Rublev, Fritz, TFO, Shelton. So 4 of the top 5 players in my list of power rankings there are in the top half of that draw. Only one of them can make the final. So to me, that's a very big advantage for Djokovic, having to play Fritz, who he's had his number. I think he's beat him like 7 or 8 times in a row. And then he'll play the winner of Shelton or TFO. TFO obviously could be a good challenge. He's that player. He's right there. He's in the prime of his career. He's 10 years younger than Djokovic, more physically there, potentially, not really, but we'll see. and he's got the U.S. crowd behind him. But still, Djokovic would rather be playing Fritz or TFO than, I think, Medvedev, Zverev, or Alcaraz for sure. I mean, he never would have played Alcaraz this early in the tournament, but that's a big thing. There's a lot more talent on the top half of this draw, no offense, than the bottom half. Not talent, ability to win this tournament on the top half. There's 3 guys there who I could conceivably see winning in the tournament. And there's 1 guy on the bottom. So that's interesting. But let's get into it. So Alcaraz, Zverev. Back before Zverev broke his ankle in half on the clay at the French Open 2022, Alcaraz beat his brains out in the Madrid final. And this is hardcore, though. Alcaraz feels better. But Zverev just played like a 4.5-hour match against Sinner. And with how fresh Alcaraz is and how not fresh Zverev will be, and how much of a mental edge that Alcaraz has on Djokovic after, beating him so badly, being the younger player, Zverev might feel pressure, even though he's the much lower seeded player. As the older player, he might feel pressure. Alcaraz also might. So I think it's going to be a good match, but I do think 3 or 4 sets for Alcaraz, definitely. But Zverev does have the game, and I think he's going to get back there once he gets. I think 2024 is going to be a great year for Zverev, where he gets back to the top 5. But right now, Alcaraz, I think just how fresh he is and how good he's feeling on the hard courts, he's going to be getting through that. Medvedev, Rublev. Medvedev played great. After dropping the first set against Alex de Minaur, I was watching on the plane last night. Medvedev started to play some of the best tennis I'd seen with my own 2 eyes on the hard courts this year. Absolutely crazy. Suffocating tennis. Hitting bigger, it seemed. Coming forward. Really playing, attacking, strong tennis. Obviously, de Minaur doesn't have the biggest serve or anything like that, so it's not a great matchup maybe for de Minaur because Medvedev can kind of just sit there and play the backboard and pick him apart, move him around, and eventually he's going to collapse. Even though de Minaur is one of the most beastly stamina players on tour, his legs were basically giving out because Medvedev was playing him so well. So I think Medvedev's coming through Rublev because he's had his number in the past. Obviously at majors, Rublev's never beat him at majors. Rublev's also never made a semifinal, so this would be the biggest win of Rublev's career. And yeah, mental, I don't know how that matches up. Again, Rublev doesn't have a huge serve either, so it's kind of a bad matchup against Medvedev. Hard to hit through Medvedev. Doesn't really work like that. And yeah, you have to be super dynamic on your serve, either being able to come in behind it or come in after the third ball. I don't know if Rublev's like that right now, but he's the best. I think Rublev's the best player he's ever been. So we will say that. Medvedev is the same as he was in 2021, in my opinion. So let's see. That should be a close match. TFO Shelton. I mean, Shelton is just so youthful, so much pop, so much pizzazz. He's flexing on his bench on everyone when he's hitting these 149 mile an hour serves. And I don't know how that's going to play out against TFO, who's obviously a showman himself, but he's been here before. I mean, Shelton has actually been to the quarterfinals of a major before back in Australia, but yeah, I just don't know. I see TFO sticking in these rallies better than Tommy Paul did. Tommy Paul was a little injured, it looked like. TFO also maybe has a little bit more put away power than Tommy Paul, but if Shelton gets into those serving flows like he did against Paul, it's gonna sets can go pretty quick, I think. So that's gonna be a super intriguing battle. And then we got Djokovic Fritz, who Fritz has never beaten Djokovic, and a lot of people think that Fritz has no chance. But I will tell you, the humidity in New York right now is crazy. I was there yesterday walking around. It was nuts. I've never felt anything like it. And they have a day match today. So that's going to be a physical battle. I think, Djokovic is a better athlete than Fritz, but Fritz is much younger. and Fritz has bigger shots and more ability to hit through the court. So if the balls get nice, thick, juicy, and heavy, court match gets slow. Some people think that if it helps Djokovic. I tend to think that gives Fritz a bit more of a chance, but maybe it doesn't, because maybe it, Fritz, with if it was like fast and dry, Fritz would be able to hit through Djokovic even better. But because Djokovic has more levers to pull, like he can hit through the court, he can hit big, he's done it, he can hit it without taking on that much more relative risk. He can obviously bring Fritz out of the comfort zone in so many different ways. So Djokovic big favorite, but I do think Fritz has a good chance, as good as ever. So we'll see today. But yeah, that's the look at the men's quarterfinals. Now let's go to the women's, where we've got Ostapenko versus Coco Gauff on the top. That is going to be a partisan crowd, I believe. If we pull it up here, we've got Coco Gauff, the queen of the U.S. right now. Everyone loves her, and Ostapenko loves to play the villain. She just took out Swiatek, though. She's playing great. So Coco Gauff will need to be at her absolute best, because she could easily lose this match to Ostapenko. No doubt about it. Mukova versus Cristia. That's a nice matchup. Two players who are having great runs to the quarterfinals there. And then we've got Vondrousova, the Wimbledon champ, taking on Madison Keys, another American, going to be a home crowd favorite. That's a great matchup as well. And then Qinwen Zheng versus Sabalenka. Like I iterated earlier, Sabalenka is my pick to win this tournament for sure. I think she's got the pressure on her, but she's already won a major. She's already secured number one in the world. So we'll just see if she just keeps rolling with the confidence that she has. As I said, I think she will. She's just looking. I can't overstate how big she was hitting the ball against Kasatkina. It was seriously impressive. So yeah, that's a quarterfinal preview and prediction on the men's side. I didn't really give as many on the women's, but my prediction is that Sabalenka is winning this whole thing. So anyways, that's the slice on the quarterfinals at the US Open. Thanks for being here. Thanks to Go Sport for the giveaway. Leave your email below if you have not, and follow us, subscribe to us both here on YouTube. Also, if you're listening, if you're more of the listening person, we are putting all of our episodes now on Apple, Spotify, and Acast to listen to the audio podcast of these shows. So thanks for subscribing there and leaving us a review. That would help us out. We'll see you next time here after the quarterfinals here on The Slice. Take care.